going on, guys? Greg here. Got a quick video for you today. This is going to be a quick rundown from my most recent customer just to go over the operation of this saber here. So this is a Kanan hilt installed with the Goth Master Chassis that's been installed with the CFX as well as pulsing crystals, etc., kind of all the bells and whistles, you know. Quick note that I'm pretty proud of is actually this saber chassis was made for 5mm LEDs in the upper crystal, lower crystal, and in the plasma gate. And I was actually able to modify things around to get 3 neopixel LEDs in series. So each one of those is programmable, and they're full RGB programmable, RGBW. Which is nice because it adds a much brighter color into your crystals and stuff like that and allows it to be a little bit more functional. So just so the customer knows that those are neopixels, they are not just LEDs. So kind of nice little aside there that I was able to get in. But the main point is I want to show the customer installing the chassis in and out of the saber because it's a little bit tricky. And you just gotta go easy here. So the saber itself normally comes with metal plungers here and here. But the ones that came with the saber were way too long and you only get one pair. So I didn't want to just grind down the ones that we had and risk them being, wrong. So I had a buddy of mine 3D print some plungers here in fine detail. The customer is going to be getting a boatload of extras. And so the good thing is that they fit. The bad thing is that they're plastic, so they're a little more fragile. So instead of being able to kind of like lock the chassis in and not care what you do, gotta be a little more careful or else you could risk snapping one of these off. So really quickly for the customer, base everything you're doing off of one pretty straight line. So plungers, as well as this piece right here on the pommel. Well, this is the pommel, but on the part above the pommel. So you want to base off of that line, as well as the line where you see the plunger switches here and here. Well, there's this channel you see right here, as well as this line right here that falls down the rest of the chassis. So you want to base everything off of that general area. So when you're installing the chassis, just go nice and easy. You're going to go about 3/4 of the way in. See how I'm lining up this pommel piece with that line on the chassis? So you're going to go nice and easy in. And when you get around here, so normally, I'm going to show you what happens if you have it wrong. Normally, this is way off now. You're going to feel resistance right there. So that is the chassis hitting the plungers. But if I twist this to the right location, the chassis should go in nice and easy, go all the way in, boom, nice and flat. So the chassis, when you see this little bit of the speaker cover sticking out, that means you're in all the way. And all you do is twist clockwise, and you're going to twist until, again, going off of this piece here is lined up with this speaker piece right here. And, if those are in a straight line, you know that you have it lined up nice, and you can hear some nice tactical feedback, and that means that everything is lined up as it should. Same idea for taking the chassis out, is that you're going to twist counterclockwise, just a touch, it's just the angle's off just a little bit here. And then instead of, do not pull by this piece. I'm sure you could, but you don't want to risk doing that. You do not want to push from the neopixel pins. You don't want to do that either. So what I do is I essentially hold the chassis or the hilt in my hand like this. And then if you hit your two wrists together while you're holding it, it'll actually knock the chassis out. So it's hard to do it with the camera where it is, but boom, boom, boom. I didn't actually hit the chassis at all, and then once this part is exposed, you can just pull out as you need to, whether you want to pull all the way out or whatever you want to do. So, good there. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the hilt itself and call this video good. So, stay. All right, so for the customer itself, this has been a pretty cool install. Like I said, we did a weathered look on the chassis. We did that weathered look for a few reasons. The main one being that this chassis is an extremely tight fit. And in order to twist the chassis in place and do all those things you need to do, you can't have it be tight at all. So I actually had to sand down quite a lot of the chassis, the metal and stuff like that, and then had to reapply my weathering to it. And it's a pretty tight fit just as it is. And so what we did is we added just a very light weathering to the actual black on the chassis. It's hard to tell on camera, but it's a little bit faded and stuff like that to help blend everything. It's got a touch of rust in some small places. And like I said, and then we'll get this thing fired up. So kill switch is here. 3.1 millimeter recharge port is here, which you're going to have a plug that comes with the Saber. It's going to look like this. When you go to put it in, just note that you don't need to jam it in. You can just boom, that little click that you heard, and it's in all the way there. It's not gonna, it's not gonna go in any further than that. And you'll know because you have a smart charger, and it'll be lit up red, all that good stuff. So this Saber is going to come with all the fonts that the customer requested, but it's also going to come with the 3 fonts that I've come out with, the Bereaved, the Corrupted, and Remnant. Remnant being my newest font that I just came out with, which was like a post-Death Star explosion lightsaber. Yes, very much based off of the one Shamim did. You can go watch the video for that because I go over all that information. So this is actually on Remnant right now, so just going to fire it up real quick.
Hello there.
Hello there. So one thing when I was talking about having the neopixels is it's nice because, as you can see, I can control the neopixel here in the main crystal without controlling the upper crystal or controlling the plasma gate, for like a pulsing crystal off the start. You also have your accents here, a blue, a green, and a red. The green and the red line up with your chassis, or sorry, with your hilt buttons. Those are static buttons, those don't do anything. And then what we can do is get this lined up. So again, the line we talked about there is lined up, and then slide this in. Nice and easy. And see, it didn't even bind at all. Boom, in all the way. Twist to lock it in. And when you see that, you can see your green and your red. The red, just because red's off right now, red's on. The red doesn't shine up quite as well as the green. That's just because it's a lighter color, or excuse me, a darker color. But in person, it does show up nice. So once that's in there, you can toss the pommel on. Every once in a while, the pommel will accidentally twist the chassis. If it does, just take it off and adjust the chassis as you need to. Then also for the customer, I did leave these 2 buttons unpainted because they blend in pretty well as they are. But if you really want them painted black or something, you're more than welcome to do that. And the other thing for the customer is the way that this is set up is that there's this cover plate here can pop off and reveal these plungers, and these plungers are spring loaded on the inside. You have extra springs, you have all that stuff with you, but I have not glued this in place. I chose not to do that because the way that it locks in on this side locks in with the red acrylic that holds this LED. Long story short, it holds it in pretty well. I haven't had any issues of it popping off. If you ever have to change a plunger, it is not glued in place. You can just pop it off. I would pry it, evenly from each side slowly. Like I said, these will pop out, so be careful because they are kind of like spring loaded because of the way that it's set up. So just something to keep in mind for you. So let's get this guy fired up. So ignition up the top, auxiliary down the bottom. I'm going to swap to just, I'll leave it on this font. So let's get this fired up. So, blue there, get your effects. Change fonts here.
Sound bank selection.
Remnant. The Corrupted. Ascension.
Disgraceful.
Just a simple wanderer.
Calvary.
I am Kanan Jedi Knight. You'll have to do better. Kid, I'm about to let everyone in on the secret.
So I haven't adjusted all the color profiles, so this one happens to be red. If you need to adjust color profiles, just so you know, it's
Spectrum.
just auxiliary, then press the power, and now you're going to be in that mode. So you can, it's hard to do it because of the angle here, but you can just kind of twist whenever you need to do. So choose that. Now you're back to a nice blue one.
The Force will be with you. Always.
So just a quick rundown. Like I said, there's a bunch of fonts on here that the customer requested. You know, I caught a lot of cool stuff, including my own. One thing for the customer that I will kind of chat with him about is right now this upper piece here, it rattles a little bit. What I chose to do was this set screw is I actually offset this a little bit and I backed it out. So I actually did it counterclockwise, essentially to push up against this piece to hold it in place. It does a pretty good job. One thing the customer could do, and again, we'll chat about this before I send it back, is you can get like a thumb screw off of Amazon, because I don't really know why this was designed this way, but the set screw that goes in this hole right here is the exact same threading as the set screw that goes in to hold your blade. So a thumb screw is probably gonna be your best choice, but again, we'll chat about this because that changes the overall look of the saber. So you know, we'll kind of have a conversation about that. So right now it looks really nice, but it functionally doesn't work for holding a blade because as soon as I go to screw this in to hold a blade, this piece will just come off. So you know, we'll chat about that. But aside from that, I'm just gonna put all this stuff aside. This is a pretty cool install. Like I said, it took me a little bit of time here. It was a little complicated at first. There was, you know, the customer I spoke about how this was one of Goth's more complicated installs because it's a little bit of cram foo. It's a little bit of, you know, a little bit of everything, honestly, came together in this. You know, there's some outdated technology, or sorry, outdated chassis designs. They're trying to go with newer technology and things like that. And I've installed Goth chassis for, God, years. It feels like forever now. And it's funny to see how much better he's just gotten. Not that this is bad. This is obviously incredible and beautiful, but it's so cool to see the progression he's made to just new ingenious ideas of ways to route wires, ways to hold boards, ways to do different things. And it's always impressive to see it continue to grow and expand. But with that being said, like I said, I actually really like the chassis. I love the saber. I think the way it looks. Oh, you know, I didn't fire it up with the saber out of the chassis. So let me do that real quick.
I'm about to let everyone in on the secret.
So you can see the plasma gate crystal and the upper crystal, which the customer provided these two crystals so that they were real crystals and not the plastic ones that came with the saber. But again, just so the customer knows, each and every single one of those is programmable. So yeah, you can kind of mess with those as you see fit. Turn this off.
The Force will be with you. Always.
All right, click. So I'll turn that off. So I said, really cool install, complicated at times, but it was a lot of fun. Glad I got to do some weathering. Oh, and I weathered the hilt too. So all this weathering on the hilt that you see here was done by yours truly. So I said, I really hope the customer loves this. It was definitely a fun project. It took a little bit longer than I'd hoped for, but you know what? It's always worth it to take your time and make sure it comes out the way you want. And yeah, like I said, absolutely loved it. Customer's been awesome for many years, been a good friend. And so I appreciate you, as always, coming back and trusting me to do a good install. And like I said, as always, if you have any problems, issues, questions, you let me know, and we'll take care of it. But if not, hope you guys have a great day.